In this presentation, we're going to start a Skillshare course thinking about our course outline that we can then upload to Skillshare. Now, in prior presentations, we thought about the process of creating instructional videos, those instructional videos fitting into our business model, then creating a course with it. Typically, the first course platform people will think of is going to be the Udemy platform, but the Udemy platform is a little bit different than Skillshare. So once we have that video content, we might think, okay, how can we adjust this to be in conformity and fit well with the Skillshare platform? That's what we'll get into now. Get ready for business, online business. Here we are on the Skillshare platform. Now, I'm not going to go into making an account on Skillshare because it's pretty straightforward. So you can make an account fairly similar to other types of platforms that you would set up. You'd set up the account, pretty much anybody can do it, and then you're going to put your instructor type information. Now, just remember, as far as branding goes, you want to think about the same kind of thing as to whether or not you want your Skillshare to be tied into your brand, because with all your other information that you'd be pointing to Skillshare, it may not be if you're pointing everybody to some other place, such as your website where you might have courses. So if you're planning on making courses somewhere else as your primary place, then Skillshare may not be something that you want exactly the same brand on. So it's just up to you. It might not matter, but just keep that in mind. If you're pointing everything to Udemy, then you got to think about, okay, now I've got courses on two platforms. You know, which one, if I'm going to promote one of them, which one of those two platforms do I want to promote? Now, also just remember that the reason you're putting them on two platforms, you might say, hey, you're stealing business from yourself. You could be there, but the whole point is that these two platforms have their own organic reach without you promoting them. So, and that means, you know, their own organic reach will have some overlap to it, but they're going to be somewhat separate. Also note that even if you put the same content on these two platforms, they typically want that content in different formats. So there's still going to be differences that will gear towards whatever the users are of those two platforms. Now remember that Skillshare is not Udemy. They're going to be different. These are probably the two largest platforms that basically are kind of totally open that you can go in and put your courses on. But Skillshare has kind of differentiated somewhat from Udemy. Udemy is obviously the biggest one. Udemy is going to be the largest platform. Skillshare, it has some differentiation in the way they put their information up there. They're also going to be more stringent with the rules then on how they're going to input the process. So just a few differences between Udemy and Skillshare. Udemy is based on basically selling course by course. So Udemy has a lot of affiliates that can help with that. So they do. So again, they have a lot of people that are just on their platform that will buy courses even if you weren't to drive content to them. Although the course needs to start ranking before that happens, clearly. So it is possible to put a course on Udemy and not get any traffic. That's highly possible. But if you're able to start getting some momentum, Udemy then has a lot of people that are on their platform. So they buy individual courses. Skillshare is going to be more of a subscription type of model. So people buy a subscription and then they go and they view the courses within the subscription model. So you could imagine these are two different models, and the payout process is going to be different between those two different models. So when you put a course up on Skillshare, you're not really selling the individual course. Typically, you're going to be selling a course that people who sign up to Skillshare can then use within their subscription. So that's going to be the general rule between the two. Now, also note, Skillshare is much more stringent with their policies. They want the courses on there the way they want the courses on there. And if you don't do something quite right, then what'll happen is they'll take down the course. So you got to be a little bit more thick-skinned with working with Skillshare, because they'll just tell you, you know, and it's not just you. Don't think it's personal. They do a lot of instructors have had their courses just taken down for reasons that they didn't know about possibly, or that might be somewhat, you might feel are somewhat subjective. You know, it is, and once it's taken down, they send you an email saying, hey, if you make this change, maybe we'll reinstall it. But honestly, once they take it down, the likelihood that that they're gonna repost it doesn't seem high. So they seem to take them down, and that seems somewhat permanent. So just be aware of that. So what you want to do then is go over to their class guidelines and just make sure that you're in conformity with the class guidelines. Now remember, this is a little different than Udemy, because With Udemy, they have some picky things too. They have a lot of picky things like you can't have any text in the thumbnails and stuff. You might be like, well, why is that? And what counts as text? What if there's a text in the logo or something like that? Does that count? And it depends on the reviewer on as to whether they will count that kind of stuff. But Udemy typically does their review process before you issue the course. So then you feel somewhat secure once you issue the course. You're not going to have someone go back in there and just close the course after it's issued. So you'll have some back and forth when you start to make the course with the team, especially if you're a newer instructor. They might put more emphasis on you and say, hey, we want this or that. But they typically do that before you issue the course. Whereas Skillshare, you're basically on your own. And then when you actually publish the course, there's nobody stopping. There's no one's going to say, hey, you didn't do this piece, and therefore you shouldn't publish it till you do because that's against our guideline or whatever. They're not going to do that. It's just going to publish. And then they typically review the courses. This is my experience in it in the next couple weeks. And if they find a problem with it, they just take the course down right then. It could have students in it, and they take the course down and they'll send you an email. And the email will say, hey, you didn't do this thing or the other thing, such as making a first video, or possibly they only want you to upload one video per week. So if you upload 2 videos a week, then in 1 week by accident, or you didn't look at the policy, they're not going to stop you from uploading the video. They'll still let you upload the course, and then they'll come back and say you violated the policy, and you'll get an email and the course will be taken down. And then it's hard to get the course back up and running again once it's taken down. Not only that, but they'll give you a strike, which is 1 out of 3 strikes. So you only get 3 strikes. Now there's a time limit to it, but just realize it's when you're making courses, it can feel like kind of a shock. You're like, I tried to do everything I did here, and the course was up. I have people in the course, and then they close the course for something that you think is, minor, and you can't really get it back up at that point in time. It could be frustrating. So just realize that that's going to happen that's just the way Skillshare works. So it's not nothing personal. That's just the way their system is currently set up. So just that means that you don't want more than 1 course per time frame per week that you're going to set up, and you need a first instructional video. You need an intro. So you need an intro to the course, and you want to make sure that intro gives the outline of the course, and it needs to be a project-based course. So unlike Udemy, where you can kind of talk about, like you can just talk about things, say, hey, this is what we're learning here, the Skillshare tends to want an actual project, meaning something that the students will actually have completed at the end of the course. So you want to be able to kind of, if you can upload something, a project, it's more likely to meet the guidelines and say, hey, this is at the end of this project, you will have completed this particular thing. Also note that the length of the course is typically going to be smaller. So that means that if you make a longer Udemy courses like I do, then you might be able to break those Udemy courses up into smaller project type courses that will fit well within the Skillshare platform. Also just note that I think Skillshare is really trying to differentiate themselves. So some of these changes, I think these changes are happening as they go to kind of differentiate themselves, and so they might be more focusing on project-based stuff. So in other words, two years ago, you could have uploaded just about anything on Skillshare and they didn't really, take it down as much. And now I think they went through a cleansing process where they're trying to make their content more standardized in a conformity to whatever their rules are. So that's that. So what are we going to do then? So if we go to Udemy and we look at our course, we're going to say, this is going to be a fairly long course here. I would first take your Udemy course, and instead of just uploading the whole thing to Skillshare, we're going to think about, all right, can I break this course up into basically projects? So I'm going to go down to the curriculum and say, let's preview this course and see if I can make, a few courses out of this that would be anywhere from, 2 to 5 hours long, or maybe even less. Like the Skillshare courses can be pretty small, but we want to make sure there's a project involved in it, that it's geared towards an actual project. So maybe I'll pull over my Udemy and then pull out the old Word document. Let's make another Word document over here. So let's open up a document and see if we can just think about some topics we can make for this Skillshare. Now, the other thing you want to be careful of with Skillshare is they tend to be working towards crafts or project type stuff, and they're tending not to. And I think this has actually happened on Udemy for some reason for a while now too. Is they're tending not to like anything related to making money. So they kind, even though obviously the platform itself is kind of an online course to make, but in any case, they're kind of gearing away from that. So you certainly don't want to put anything on there saying make $1,000 a day or something like that. And even things that are basically saying, build a business seem to be not, not in these days on the platform possibly. So even something like this, software for an online business, might not be the best term for Skillshare at this point. So hardware to be used for an online business. So we could modify these labels possibly to say software to communicate online, software that can be used to communicate online. And the business model might not be bad, but I'm just saying it's not what they're really focused on. So if you have things that are business related, money making related, building business models, it's not a project thing as much. So this whole course is not as designed as well for Skillshare as others, but we'll see what we can do with it here. So online business model. So we got an online business model, website and teaching platforms. Now again, I could do that, but then I'm comparing actual teaching platforms with one that I'm going to have on that platform. So I'm not sure they would want that. Podcasts. So podcasts. So we could do that. Convert video files to other resource to use online business. So that's a pretty project-based item here. So we could have a course that would be something like how to convert video MP4 files to multiple other resources. All right, something like that. That would be a project-based thing because we can actually provide them with content, a video file possibly, that they can then have an end project with and complete. And this section in and of itself is probably long enough. It's probably more than long enough for a Skillshare video. So I think that would be a really good one. Social media platform and email marketing overview. So social media platforms and email marketing. Again, probably not bad. I mean, you might not get in trouble, but again, I think Skillshare isn't liking anything, money related. So the email marketing, they might see it as spammy. So you might try it, but personally, I'm not going to do it on mine because I'll just stay away from anything money related. Then affiliate marketing, overview of virtual assistant, overview for online business, affiliate marketing. So again, probably not the best topic for Skillshare, affiliate marketing being. PowerPoint software and formatting a presentation for an online business. That might work. So how to use PowerPoint and format and on a presentation. So something like that. That would fit well. And then of course we can actually have an end project where they have the PowerPoint, they could format the presentation. Not very long here, just 2 videos, but that's still probably over the requirements for Skillshare because they tend to be pretty short. Branding for an online business, again, probably not a bad topic, but again, I'm probably going to stay away from some of the business stuff. So you'll note through this whole course, I could add a lot of this other stuff, and I might go back and add some of this stuff. I could change the name for like software for online business. I might say software that can be used, that might be an appropriate title. Hardware, typical hardware for online businesses. So I could use some of this information, and note that when I expand the course, I might add more information related to software and related to hardware and related to social media. So maybe at that point, when I have more information per section, I might add that information. And again, you don't have to stay away from the business model stuff, but it's not the major thing Skillshare is after. And I teach accounting, which is money related, right? Obviously, we're doing business money related stuff, but it's not saying, hey, I'm trying to show people how to make money, which I think Skillshare starts to see as kind of, it gets the line of when that becomes gimmicky or clickbaity or something like that is somewhat gray. So I'd rather just not deal with that with this course here. So that is that. And so, like I say though, some courses you can make a whole bunch of other courses with. So if you had a full outline here, you can cut that into like, smaller chunks, and you can make a lot of Skillshare courses with them. But just make sure that when you make the Skillshare course, whatever course you make, they're project related. So now I'm going to take one of these. We'll actually make a Skillshare course with it, and then we'll add the little conditions we need to add, which is like an intro, presentation video, and possibly some kind of project tool to upload, and then we'll have to put in the description for it, and that'll be it. We should be okay with that. Then also note that when we do this, we only want to upload. We can get like 5 courses maybe out of one sometimes, but we can't upload them all at the same time. We can only do one a week. So then you could create them. Just make sure that you only upload them, once a week.